All right, thanks, guys. As you can see here, we are on the road here today, but we are coming off a 2-in-1 day on our Patreon premium plays yesterday. That's going to put us at 28-14 in our last 42 premium plays on that site. So check me out at patreon.com/BrockPage. Link for that site is in the description section below. All right, let's go ahead and dive into our Wednesday slate of Major League Baseball games. All starts Eastern Standard Time. Now, I got a 10 o'clock meeting, so we're not going to dive into these because I got about 20 minutes to get to that. So we're not going to go too in-depth with these breakdowns. We'll just go ahead and lead out with the picks, and we'll do a better job tomorrow in breaking down the games and diving more in depth. But anyway, first game we have for you, it is going to be the Marlins taking on the Mets, 12:10 Eastern first pitch in Flushing, Queens. The Mets are minus 200, totals at 9. We did see a 20-cent fade of the Mets in the early wagering. We also saw a little bit of movement upward on the total. The Mets open 220, down to minus 200. Total open 8.5, up to 9 flat. 60% of the consensus is leaning toward New York, 64% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Marlins are plus 170 on the money line. The Mets are minus 105 on the run line. We have Jordan Yamamoto for the Marlins, pretty much the only bright spot for that squad. We also have Steven Matz for the Mets. Mets are hot right now, looking to make a push here in the National League wild card race. Mets are hot. I like them in this spot here, especially at home. I'm going to lean New York Mets minus 1.5 and the under 9 runs in that game. Next matchup, it is going to be Braves Twins, 1:10 Eastern first pitch in Minnesota. The Braves are minus 115, totals 10.5. Now, we did see a flip of the lines in this one. Atlanta open plus 105, now minus 115. Total open 10, up to 10.5. 59% are leaning Braves, 71% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Twins are plus 105 on the money line. We have Max Fried for the Braves, Martin Perez for the Twins. Perez comes into this game with an 8-4 record for Minnesota. Now, Max Fried on the other side, as good as he's been this year, he still comes into this game with a 4.07 ERA, does have the tendency to get hit around in certain spots. So pretty much, well, not even a coin flip. We got a Minnesota team who's very good, scores a lot of runs, pretty much second in runs scored, second in hits, around there when it comes to the rankings. So I like the Twins catching plus money at home. Give me Minnesota plus 105 and the under 10.5 runs in that matchup there. Next game, White Sox Tigers, 110 Detroit. Pretty much a coin flip in this one, guys. Both teams minus 105, totals at 9. We did see a nickel fade of the White Sox in the early wagering. They were the favorite when this one opened up. We also saw movement downward on the total. The White Sox open $1.10, down to 105. Total open 9.5, down to 9 flat. 56% are leaning White Sox, 69% shaded toward the over. Right now, Detroit is minus 105 on the money line. We also are looking at a White Sox team who is plus 145 on the run line. They also have Ivan Nova projected on the bump for him this afternoon. The Tigers have Tyler Alexander. Now, Alexander comes into this game with an 0-2 record, 4.50 ERA. I like the White Sox in this spot here, going up against the worst team in Major League Baseball, well over 40 games under 500. So give me the White Sox minus 105 and the under 9 runs in that game. All right, next matchup, Rangers Indians, first of a doubleheader. That's going to be a 1:10 Eastern first pitch at Progressive Field in Cleveland. The Indians are minus 175, totals at 8. We saw a nickel fade of the Indians and movement downward on the total. Cleveland open 180, down to 175. Total open 8.5, down to 8 flat. 74% are leaning Indians, 56% shaded toward the under. Right now, the Rangers are plus 165 on the money line. The Indians are plus $1 on the run line. We have Ariel Jurado for the Rangers, Plesac for the Indians. Zach Plesac is 6-3 on the year with a 3.55 ERA. Gerardo on the other side for the Rangers, just 6-6 with a 4.92 ERA. I like Cleveland in this spot. I don't quite want to lay the 1.5 for some reason. I just have a feeling that Texas is going to kind of hang in there and keep it close. But I do think Cleveland should win this one outright. So I'm going to lean Indians minus 175 and the over 8 runs in that game. Next matchup, Blue Jays, Rays, 1:10 Eastern first pitch in Tampa Bay. The Rays are minus 205, totals 8.5. We did see a 10-cent fade of Tampa Bay in the early wagering. No movement on the total as of yet. The Rays open 215 down to 205. Total open and remains at 8.5. We have Wilmer Font for the Blue Jays, Brendan McKay for the Rays. McKay's 2-1 on the year. Meanwhile, on the other side, Font is coming into this game with a 5.07 ERA. I like Tampa Bay in this spot here at home. I'm going to lean Tampa Bay Rays minus 1.5 and the under 8.5 runs in that game. Next matchup, Rockies, Astros, 2:10 Houston. The Astros are the massive $3.35 favorite. Totals at 8.5. Now, we did see a nickel fade of Houston on the money line. No real surprise there as they opened up an incredibly high price point. We also saw movement downward on the total as well. The Astros open 340 down to 335. Total open 9 down to 8.5. 71% are leaning Astros, 69% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Rockies are plus 305 on the money line. Houston minus $1.70 on the run line. We have Peter Lambert for Colorado, Garrett Cole for the Astros. Cole's 13-5 with a 2.87 ERA. Peter Lambert on the other side, 2-2 with a 5.71 ERA. I like Houston in this spot here. Great starting rotation. A lot of strikeouts for these pitchers for the Astros. Give me Houston minus 1.5 and the under 8.5 runs in that game. Next matchup, Oakland A's, Chicago Cubs, 2:20 Eastern first pitch at Wrigley Field. The Cubs are minus 145, no total as of yet. We did see a nickel fade of the Cubs in the early wagering. They open $1.50 down to 145. Once again, no total on this game as of yet. 51% of the consensus is leaning towards Chicago. We have Homer Bailey for the A's, Jose Quintana for the Cubs. Quintana's 9-7 on the year. Bailey on the other side comes into this matchup with a 5.20 ERA. The Cubbies are virtually unbeatable at home, although they did drop one recently. But anyway, very good at home, basically winning 67% of their games at home, very close to that number. I don't have that number, but off the top of my head, I know that roughly out of every 3 games at home, they're winning 2 of them. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean Cubbies minus 145. Winning that one outright for some money line cash. All right, next game. Pretty interesting matchup here. We have the Cardinals taking on the Dodgers, 3:10 Eastern first pitch in Los Angeles. The Dodgers are just minus 130, totals at 8.5, and we did see a 10-cent fade of the Dodgers. We also saw movement downward on the total. LA opened $1.40 down to minus 130, total open 9 down to 8.5. 54% are leaning St. Louis, 67% shaded toward the over. Right now the Cards are plus 120 on the money line. The Dodgers plus $1.55 on the run line. We have Jack Flaherty for the Cards, Dustin May for the Dodgers, and that's probably why we're seeing such a short shot here on the Dodgers. Now, Jack Flaherty for St. Louis comes into this game with a 5-6 record. Not all that impressive this year. Certainly not the Flaherty of old. I love the price point on the Dodgers. I know it's Dustin May on the bump, but I just simply can't resist. I like the Dodgers minus 130 at home and the under 8.5 runs in that game. Next matchup, Nats, Giants, 345 San Francisco. Pretty much a coin flip in this one. Both teams minus 105 with the total at 9. Now, Washington did open up as the slight favorite. They were minus 110 when this one opened up. Now down to minus 105. Totals at 9 flat. 57% are leaning Giants, 68% shaded toward the over. San Fran obviously minus 105 on the money line, and Washington is plus $1.50 on the run line. We have Joe Ross for the Nats, Sean Anderson for the Giants. Anderson's 3-3 with a 5.08 ERA. ERA. Now, I know Joe Ross has been pretty pathetic this year, but I like Washington in this spot here. I'm feeling just as hot as the Giants have been, that's just not them. I feel a nice kind of cooler coming on here for the for San Fran, and I think they'll start to expose themselves here in the final months of this season. So I'm going to lean Washington minus 105 in the under 9 runs in that game. Next matchup, Rangers-Indians, and that is game 2 of a doubleheader. No line on this game as of yet. 4:40 Eastern first pitch. We have Lance Lynn for the Rangers. Nobody as of yet for Cleveland. If you have a projected starter or a probable for Cleveland in game 2, let me know in the comment section below who it's going to be. But Lance Lynn's coming into this game with a 14-6 record, 3.71 ERA. He's been outstanding this year, so I think we'll see a nice little split this afternoon at Progressive Field. Give me the Texas Rangers winning game 2 of the doubleheader, winning it outright for some moneyline cash. All right, next matchup, Padres, Mariners, 640 Seattle. The Padres are minus 145, totals 9.5. We saw a nickel move towards San Diego and movement upward on the total. The Padres open $1.40 up to 145, total open 9 up to 9.5. 71% are leaning Padres, 60% shaded toward the over. Right now the Mariners are plus 135 on the money line. The Padres plus $1.10 on the run line. We have Joey Lucchesi for the Padres, Yusei Kikuchi for the Mariners. Now Lucchesi comes into this game with a 6-6 record, 4.23 ERA, and as bad as Kikuchi has been, I think the Mariners should be able to keep it close in this spot here. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean Seattle Mariners plus 1.5, keeping it close for some run line cash, and the over 9.5 runs in that game. Next matchup, Brewers, Pirates, 7:05 Pittsburgh. No line currently posted for this game. We have Drew Pomeranz for the Brewers, Trevor Williams for the Pirates. Williams is 4-4 with a 4.85 ERA, and as bad as Drew Pomeranz has been this year, this Pittsburgh squad is just ice cold. I believe it's 2-14 in their last 16 off the top of my head. Crazy to think, about a month and a half ago, these guys were right in the mix for the NL Central. But anyway, Pittsburgh's ice cold. Got to fade them here. Give me the Milwaukee Brewers winning that one outright for some money line cash. Next game, Yankees, Orioles, 7:05 Baltimore. The Yankees are minus 240, totals at 10. We saw a 40-cent move toward the Yankees, no surprise there. We also saw movement upward on the total. New York opened $2 up to 240, total open 9.5 up to 10 flat. 58% are leaning Yankees, 71% shaded toward the over. Right now, Baltimore's plus 220 on the money line. The Yankees minus $1.40 on the run line. We have James Paxton for the Yankees, John Means for the Orioles, and as good as John Means has been this year, the Yankees just absolutely own Baltimore. The Yankees are, man, they hit. They can pound the ball, and it's not even with their top guns. So anyway, I got to lean toward the Yankees, minus 1.5 in this one, and the over 10 runs in that game. All right, next matchup, Royals, Red Sox, 7:10 Fenway Park in Boston. Boston's minus 300 right now, despite as bad as they've been. Total is 10.5, and we saw a 25-cent move toward Boston in the early wagering. We also saw movement downward on the total. The Sox opened 275 up to 300. Total open 11 down to 10.5. 70% are leaning Red Sox, 67% shaded toward the over. Right now, KC is plus 270 on the money line. Boston minus $1.50 on the run line. We have Glenn Sparkman for the Royals, Eduardo Rodriguez for the Red Sox. Eduardo is 13-5 on the year. Meanwhile, Glenn Sparkman for the Royals just 3-7 with a 5.58 ERA. As bad as Boston's been, man, this is a really expensive price for as bad as they've been. But I can't fade them in this spot, especially behind Rodriguez. Give me the Red Sox minus 1.5 and the over 10.5 runs in that game. All right, next and final matchup for the show, it is going to be Phillies, Diamondbacks, 940 Arizona. The D-backs are minus 135, totals 9.5. We saw a 10-cent move toward the D-backs and movement upward on the total. Arizona open $1.25, up to 135. Total open 9, up to 9.5. 56% are leaning Phillies, 63% shaded toward the under. Right now, the Fightins are plus 125 on the money line. The D-backs plus $1.55 on the run line. We have Jason Vargas for the Phils, Zach Gallen for the D-backs. Gallen's just 1-3 on the year. Meanwhile, Vargas 6-5 on the year, 3.93 ERA. A lot of that damage done with the New York Mets. I like the Phillies in the spot here. They actually, as bad as that score was last night, losing 8-4, they were up 3-2. Late, I believe it was the 6th inning, and they left bases loaded. They had bases loaded with 1 out, and Hoskins and Harper both struck out back-to-back. So really the Phils should have put that one away. They were dominating that game. Just had some bad bullpen action. That's the same song and dance for the Fightin' Phils. But in this spot here, I like them. I think they'll get the job done. Give me Philadelphia plus 125 and the under 9.5 runs in that game. All right, guys, that is going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are 28-14 in our last 42 premium plays on that site. Link for that site is in the description section below. Memberships begin at just $1.99 per month. You definitely want to check that out. Patreon.com/BrockPage. But most importantly, I got to thank you for one, being patient with me with the late upload today, and two, I got to thank you for tuning in today and watching this free content right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this free content, all this free information. And as always, don't forget to check me out on patreon.com/BrockPage.